Okay, I believe we are live. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's live at 5. Kate here, live with you. And I will be intermittently checking if anybody's here for our live at 5 tonight. Okay. So, quick announcement. Big welcome to our new members. We've had a flurry of new members over the last few weeks. So welcome to you all if you are new. I do live at 5 every Monday evening at 5 o'clock. And usually and previously I've either given you a rundown on what's happening or a bit of an update or looked at a particular news item that's been going on, but I'm going to change up over the summer the way that we do live at 5, and we're going to try and get a step ahead in terms of preparations for the new normal. Now, you don't have to do this while you're on holiday at all, but I want them to be a pack of resources, videos that you can watch as and when you need to, in preparation for the new academic year in September, in whatever format that ends up looking like. So tonight we're going to take a look generally at a safeguarding audit, and we're going to look at the top 10 things I think you need to be considering as part of your safeguarding audit. What we will then do over the following weeks, we are going to take each of those in turn and look a little more in detail at what each of those things involves, what it covers, and what you need to be thinking about when you're conducting your safeguarding audit. So the top 10 things are your safeguarding policy. Now, it should go without saying that you should be looking at your safeguarding policy as part of a safeguarding audit, but sometimes we maybe don't look at those in as much detail as we perhaps should be, and we can often forget about some of the simple things that we need to be considering. So make sure your safeguarding audit includes a comprehensive review of your safeguarding policy. That's number one. Number two, if not included in your safeguarding policy, make sure that you are thoroughly reviewing your safeguarding procedure and procedures, more generally speaking. Are they fit for purpose? Do they meet the needs of your organisation as it currently stands? Yes, they may have met the requirements of your organisation in a pre-COVID world, but do they meet the requirements of a post-COVID world? And are they easy to understand and to follow? That's number two. Thirdly, think about your risk assessments. Now, I'm not just talking here about your standard risk assessment, so you might have for school trips, but I'm also thinking here about how safe are your students coming, or your pupils in coming back to school, back into your organisation, back into your setting, back into your classroom, back into your theatre group. Have you looked at your entrances, your exits? Have you considered your staffing, your personnel? Have you considered other places where there may well be a risk? Anywhere where people may be meeting? What are your requirements in relation to that? Are they fit for purpose anymore? Have things had to change because of the COVID situation? Have you moved buildings so they need to be reviewed anyway? Have you had a change in what you offer and how you offer it? So have you moved from a face-to-face situation to online, and is that now covered as part of your risk assessments and your processes, more generally speaking. Number 4, training needs. Now, this isn't necessarily just about your safeguarding staff. Yes, they will need to make sure, you will need to make sure that their safeguarding training is up to date. There has been a bit of a moratorium on designated safeguarding lead training during lockdown. That is no longer the case. You will need to make sure that certainly from September onwards, that your safeguarding lead training is properly refreshed and updated. Also think about what other staffing needs other staff training you might need to have in place. Are you doing stop and search? Are you undertaking any particular training, or are you having particular issues affecting your particular organisation? Maybe there are county lines issues, maybe you've got an increase in gang issues, maybe you've got an increase in drug and alcohol abuse that is taking place within the demographic that uses your organisation. Are your staff, are you properly equipped to understand and to deal with that? So make sure you have checked that through. Number 5, your wider policies. For me, safeguarding should sit at the heart of everything we do as safeguarding professionals. That's absolutely where it should be. Is it? Make sure that as part of your safeguarding audit, that your policies in the wider context actually cover and are fit for purpose in terms of safeguarding. So, for example, do your car parking policies cover things like adequate lighting, adequate access, safe access for staff and for students or others using your organisation? Your wider policies must be coherent with your safeguarding policies, otherwise you are leaving a huge gap in terms of protecting those that you work with. So that's number 5. Number 6, and something that we should all have been looking at, particularly over the last 4 months, is online access. What online access do your students, do your children have access to? Is it safe? Is it secure? Fantastic if you've got an IT department who are able to put in appropriate filters and monitor this for you on a daily basis. If not, have you got the right equipment in order to make sure that your internet access is safe? How are you using, and have you checked that the online access that has been given is appropriate, and the tools that you're asking students and younger children to access, are they appropriate? Are they safe? Are they monitored? Do you know what they do? Do you know how they can access them? Just because you use something personally doesn't mean it's automatically appropriate for you to use within an education or business setting. Remember, lots of these platforms will have a free level, but you will not be covered for education or business purposes if you are using the free level in an awful lot of circumstances. So make sure that what you're using is appropriate and compliant, not just from a safeguarding perspective, but you've also got to factor in data protection and GDPR as well. Number 7, have you moved to an online delivery model? I have. I love delivering online. I absolutely love the freedom to be able to jump on and talk to you whenever and wherever. I love that my entire business is now a remote business, or could be a remote business, and I have the freedom to choose whether or not I deliver anything in a face-to-face capacity. If that is what you have done as part of your organisation, maybe you've moved part of your service, part of your teaching, part of your organisation into a remote service, into a remote access situation. How is that working? As part of your safeguarding audit, you should be looking at how that's operated, what have been some of the issues that have arisen as a result of that, what have been some of the brilliant things, what have been some of the not so brilliant things, and what things do we absolutely have to address to make sure that we get right each and every time from a delivery perspective. So that could be the way that content is accessed. It could be how students and teachers access particular platforms. It could be passwords, one-to-ones, simple things like backgrounds. That should absolutely form part of your safeguarding audit, because if your delivery method has changed, you will have had to make sure that it's safe and secure, and you should be checking that people, staff, students, whoever, have been following the rules in relation to this that you have set down. If you haven't set them down, then now is the time to do so, to make sure that you are protected for whatever program you are looking at delivering come the new term. Number 8, contacts with external agencies. Sadly, COVID has not only brought about the tragedies of very high numbers in deaths, it has also brought about the high numbers of services that are no longer available or do not have capacity to support any more people. You will need to make sure that you are reviewing those contact numbers that you already have. You will need to make sure that they're still current, that those people are still in those organisations, and particularly that those organisations are still running. You'll also need to make sure that those organisations are still accepting people and how they are accepting referrals, to make sure that your information is as up to date as is absolutely possible. Number 9, your resources. Now, this is wider than your external agencies. It could be that you are looking internally at what resources you have available. Maybe you have counselling services in-house. Maybe you have access to things like calming rooms, or you have access to TAs, or you may have a band of volunteers that come in and support you. Thoroughly review how you are using those resources, how they are accessing the information they need to, or if they are physical, make sure they're still fit for purpose. And if they've not been used for months, what needs to happen in order to make them appropriate? Those are some of the very simple things that you can look at immediately. Finally, you need to review your culture and level of vigilance in terms of safeguarding within your organisation. You will get this partly from the work you're doing in terms of reviewing your risk assessments, your policy, your procedures, but you'll need to do some sort of check around how well they are being implemented and how well they are being used. A policy procedure assessment is only as good as the weakest person using it. And if there are people who aren't using it appropriately, you will need to deal with that, because you're leaving yourself wide open. So part of your audit needs to look at how safeguarding is viewed within your organisation, where it sits within everybody's daily practices, and where it sits as part of the overall plan as part of your organisation. You will only get a true picture by delving deeply and actually asking some potentially difficult questions and doing some dip surveys of work that should be undertaken on a routine basis. If you want any assistance with any audits that are being undertaken over the summer months or the early part of the new year, please do get in touch, because I do support people through the Safeguarding Association to manage these audits. They can be enormous for one person to deal with, and we can work together to make sure that you're gathering the right information so that you know that your audit is as thorough as it possibly can be, and you have somebody to bounce off and somebody that you can trust to support you through that process. If you're interested, please leave a comment below and I will get in touch with you with a link to talk about how we can support you through the association with your audits as we move through. Until next time, have a safe week, and I will see you next Monday when we're going to take a deeper look at safeguarding policies and what you need to be reviewing as part of your audit process. Until then, take care.